For anyone that knows me and knows my tastes in horror movies, they would know that I love the first I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's one of those movies that either I watched it at a young age, so it stuck with me in the right ways, or I just think it's a really cool film. So the sequel, oh man, I want to like this movie. I want to say good things about it, but I can't because it sucks. If I'm being honest with myself, in comparison to the first movie, or just even in general, I think this film sucks. I'm talking about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. The first movie was a huge hit. It made over $124 million in the box office, and this being a lower budget horror film, that's great. Obviously, a sequel was in the making, but this came out just 1 year later. And I know sometimes horror movies, franchises, they'll make one movie per year because it's cheap and it's quick and it's easy, and they can do it. But when you're talking about a film like the first one, the original, that made as much money as it did, it was an unexpected hit. So obviously they weren't planning on making a sequel this fast. They only did it to capitalize on the success, on the brand name. And not just that, but a big component, a big reason why that first movie works and is as good as it is because of the writer, Kevin Williamson, who is also responsible for writing my favorite horror movie of all time, Scream. So a lot of those sensibilities, a lot of that humor, a lot of that teenage writing that I think is a little above, better than most of these movies that deal with teenage characters. I think that he gets it. So what do you do for the sequel? You don't bring him back? What the fuck? Mistake number one, movie. This movie, this film, the sequel, is written by Trey Calloway. Fuck this guy. And it's directed by Danny Cannon. Fuck him too. Just no. No, no, no. The opening scene is you see Julie, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I admit was probably my first celebrity crush or actress crush. Again, the right age, and I just think Jennifer Love Hewitt is great, even in shitty movies. You see her in a church, and she's giving a confession to the father, and she's talking about what happened the prior year in the prior movie, which you do stop and think for a second, especially if you're binging these both films back to back. Like, wait, didn't the last movie end with Julie in the shower and her being attacked by the fisherman? How is she just suddenly okay now? Well, you see that this too is a dream in the church, and that the father is the fisherman who goes to attack her, and then Julie wakes up in class screaming. You realize that not only is this church scene a dream, but that scene at the end of the first movie in the shower was a dream as well. So at least they explain that away. We also find out it's been 1 year exactly since the first movie's events, so they're staying in chronological order. And Julie has been taking summer classes in Boston because she does not want to go back home, which makes sense. Traumatic things happened back home. You see her classmate Will running up to her and talking to her after class, and he's trying to comfort her and ask her what's wrong and if she's okay and if she needs anything. And I hate Will. I do. Just from the get-go, from the beginning, not even with what his character ends up being later on. No, I'm just talking about if he's just a friend or just a guy in her class that's being so sweet and nice to her. It's like, no, Will, this nice guy act, I see through it. I know what you're doing. You're trying to wheel your way in there. You're trying to make the boyfriend look bad. You're trying to swoop in and be the knight in shining armor. Fuck you, dude. And every boyfriend hates a guy who tries to swoop in on his girlfriend like this. It's just, he's a weasel. That's where we see Freddie Prinze Jr., who surprises Julie at her apartment. He's there. He wants to take her back home for the 4th of July, this trip. He has a bunch of stuff planned. Julie still does not want to, and they get into an argument over this. And honestly, as much as I understand Freddie Prinze Jr., as much as I just said, hey, if you're the boyfriend, you're going to hate anything that gets in the way of what you want to do with your girlfriend. But you got to look at this girl's situation, her mindset, what she's been through, the trauma. Sure, Freddie Prinze has been through it as well, but maybe not as hard as she did. And I think she's giving him plenty good reason to want to not go back. She even offers for him to stay up there with her, and he just doesn't because of work and whatnot. So, not a good start for our happy couple, seeing them argue. Julie goes inside and decides to take a nap, and as she's sleeping, she hears some weird noise. So she's looking around the house. It's dark, the lights are off, only to find her friend Brandy, who snuck into the house and is going through her closet to borrow an outfit, which makes me think, okay, I know Brandy said, hey, I thought you went back home. I didn't think you were here. I was just going to take this and go. But really, if she wasn't here, you're just going to break into her place and steal her clothes? Some friend! With friends like that, no wonder why Julie is super paranoid and on edge. Hell, she almost attacked her and killed her. And to be honest, I wouldn't have blamed her. So Brandy wants to go out to a nightclub with her and her boyfriend. She invites Julie to let off some steam. Julie decides to go. And this nightclub scene, look, I like the idea of Jennifer Love Hewitt trying to let some edge off, wanting to go out, and maybe if she got drunk and did some stuff she wasn't proud of, I could understand this more. But no, she starts seeing the fisherman at the nightclub, at the balcony, looking up, and we as an audience don't know if he's really there or if she's just going nuts. In fact, I still don't know to this day whether the fisherman was really there or not. And if he was really there, dumb. So dumb. And the problem was that I can't even say for 100% that he's not there, because the logic of this movie, he very well could have been there. He very well could just somehow always know where Julie is at every point in time. So the next morning, you see that this radio station calls them and asks for the capital of Brazil. They say Rio de Janeiro, which you're kind of sitting there as an audience thinking, well, that's not the right answer. But they get it right. Huh? I know it works into the story. I know there's a reason why them giving the wrong answer and still winning does make sense. But when you first watch the movie, you almost go, all right, something's wrong here. So they win a trip to the Bahamas. Obviously, they're excited, Brandy and Jennifer Love Hewitt. And Jennifer Love Hewitt, her first thought is to invite her boyfriend, which is nice. It is. It's very nice. But once again, Freddie Prinze, when she calls him, gets upset over, wow, you don't want to come back home, but you're willing to go to another country. And she's like, but it's the Bahamas. It's a free trip. Why would I turn that down? Oh, but I invited you here with me. And dude, again, I get it, but get your head out of your ass. This girl who you say you love is inviting you to a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Why are you turning this down? He hangs up the phone. His friend talks to him and says, dude, what the fuck? And he reveals that this was a whole planned thing. He wanted to bring her back home and propose to her. So I get it. I get it. He wanted to propose. This was a huge, major thing for him. He wanted it to be a surprise. I do. I get it. But you could just as easily have proposed in the Bahamas, and it would have been even better probably than what you had planned. I get so frustrated with characters that I liked in the last movie, and then in the sequel, for some reason, they create this forced drama, this forced jealousy, this forced anger and arguments unneeded, unnecessary. Luckily, his friend convinces him that he's an idiot and says, dude, you gotta go. So Freddie Prinze agrees and says, all right, we're going to drive to Boston, him and the friend, and we're going to surprise her, and I'm going to go along. Not just call her. No, the friend says, surprise her. Oh, great. Don't you love when characters do this, like how people do in real life? So as they're driving, they're stopped by a mysterious car on the road. They go to check it out, and Freddie Prinze, when he realizes that it's a trick, a prank, a swerve, he turns around and sees his friend get killed and gutted by the fisherman with his hook. And this is probably one of the most gruesome deaths in the movie. It happens pretty early on. The fisherman gets into the truck and starts to chase Freddie Prinze down, and he falls down the hill. He doesn't die, but he's hurt very bad. And then we cut back to Julie and Brandy, who are waiting, and they're waiting. I guess they're waiting for Ray, even though they were on the phone with him. Julie, she heard him say no, but maybe she thought he would show up anyways, like he was originally supposed to, but he won't now. So because Ray doesn't show up, she doesn't know what to do. Brandy had already invited Will instead. Brandy, what the fuck? Some friend you are. You see that Julie is upset. She's emotional. She wants to be with her boyfriend. They're having issues and back and forth. So your plan, your idea is to invite another guy that clearly has a thing for her and convince her to maybe hang out with this guy in the Bahamas in this romantic trip. Just no. You see that Julie, once they get to the Bahamas, you see that Julie is sharing a room with Will. Oh, great. Oh, joy. You even see Brandy tell Jennifer Love Hewitt, hey, maybe you guys can hook up. Look at him. Isn't he cute? Isn't he this and that? No! Don't try to convince her to cheat on her boyfriend. What the fuck? What is up with these characters? Horrible. You get this karaoke scene just to show off that Jennifer Love Hewitt can sing, and a lot of her music is on the soundtrack, by the way. It's alright. And as she's singing I Will Survive, on the teleprompter, she sees a message that says, I still know what you did last summer. The title of the movie! Which always confused me because I thought, well, wait a minute. If this takes place a year after the last movie, shouldn't it be I Know What You Did 2 summers ago? Maybe that doesn't sound as catchy as I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but still, it'd be factually accurate because last summer, the previous summer was them getting chased by the fishermen and having to deal with it and their friends being killed. So technically, they didn't really do anything last summer. It was the previous summer where they ran over Ben Willis and threw him in the lake and he wasn't dead and he came back for revenge. Oh well, why am I thinking about this? Julie goes back to her room after freaking out and she finds flowers. She finds a note. She freaks out because, well, notes aren't really her best friend lately. And she opens it to find out that it's from Will and he scares her. But he was trying to be sweet and nice. Ugh, fuck you, Will. She has a boyfriend. Leave her alone. So she feels bad, of course, and he feels bad too. So he leaves her alone. And we get these scenes of Brandy and her boyfriend, Mekhi Phifer. Different scenes of them in the hotel room on the bed, but they're not having sex. No, she's just jumping on the bed with him laying there. Or the scene of them in the hot tub and Mekhi Phifer constantly trying to hook up with her, trying to have sex with her. You get the impression that, sure, they've already had sex. It's not like they haven't yet. But for whatever reason, Brandy is just not feeling it, not into it. She's all these excuses to not have sex with him. And I think it's just supposed to be an ongoing joke for me to feel bad for Mekhi Phifer or to think, oh, poor guy. He just wants to get laid and he can't. But why? Why is Brandy on this trip and with this guy if she doesn't want to have sex with him? It's all kind of weird. Of course, Will joins them in the hot tub. So, aha, fun shenanigans with Will. Julie discovers that her toothbrush is missing, so she freaks out about that. As she's looking for it, she opens the closet and sees the dockhand guy hanging dead because the fisherman had killed him earlier and I guess somehow snuck into her room without her knowing and hid the body there. She screams because Jennifer Love Hewitt has a great scream, I'll admit that. And she freaks out, she runs out, she finds her friends, she brings them back. But of course, the body's missing. Look, I know we did this in the first film with the dude from Roseanne and Big Bang Theory. His body was in her trunk with the crabs and it was really creepy, messed up and haunting to look at. And the time it takes for her to run from her car to go to Ryan Phillippe's house or Sarah Michelle Gellar's house, one of the two, and bring them back to show them, it makes more sense that the killer would come and clear the body because he is messing with her. And because he was building towards the same date, July 4th, to actually start killing them. So at least that mind fuck, that mind games he was playing, at least it makes sense there. This time, it doesn't make sense. It's just repeating the same beats and the same stuff from the original movie. And nobody believes her, of course, because why would they? And then they want to call the cops or something, but the phone lines are dead. Great! Awesome. Phone lines are dead. You find out that they are dead because of this hurricane storm that's going on that weekend. Oh, what a coincidence. Also, Jack Black gets killed. Yes, Jack Black is in this movie. He's this guy with dreadlocks who's a stoner. He's always offering them weed or trying to hook up with the women. And it's such an awkward cameo, such a weird cameo. I know Jack Black wasn't really famous at the time, but even more so looking back at this, you go, why is Jack Black here? And you see him get killed and it's a random body for the fisherman to kill. It's just, again, why is this fisherman killing random people on this island that have nothing to do with anything? In fact, the fisherman kills the entire staff, including the hotel manager, which, I'll be honest, this hotel manager was kind of a dick. Even when the phone lines were down and all the chaos was going on, he was just brushing Julie off and pretending like her freaking out was no big deal. And it's like, I get if you don't believe her, but you're in management. You're running a hotel. You have to at least pretend and act like you care about what she's upset about. At least lie to her and say you're going to take care of it. Look into it. But man, you're not even hiding your dickishness. So them finding your dead body in your office with the blood written on the walls, very theatrical. I assume the killer figured that they would find the body. What if they never did? All that work for no reason. So you get Brandy trying to get Jennifer Love Hewitt to calm down, to go exercise, because I guess that's what people do when they're upset. And as she's in the tanning bed, you get the fisherman who finds where they are, because again, he knows where everyone is, every room is, every part of this large island is. He finds her in there. She can't hear anything, and he locks her in. He locks her in the bed, which could have been scary, could have been creepy, could have been really disturbing if you especially think about the Final Destination 3 scene of those two poor girls in a tanning bed. But no, Julie screams, she freaks out, her friends hear her immediately, and then, what do you know, they just break the handle and get her out. I'm not saying Julie should have died, but maybe you could have had her get seriously burnt or to have some consequences or something to have made the scene stand out, to make the scene, when you go back to rewatch it, have some dread to it. But no, she gets out fine. And let's be honest, it seems like this scene was only here just to see Jennifer Love Hewitt in a bikini. Can't complain there. After this, Jennifer Love Hewitt tells the group about what happened last summer, about how they hit Ben Willis and how he came back to kill them and he killed her friends and she's been living with this lie for the longest time. And Brandy's reaction is, how could you, Julie? How could you not tell me this? I'm your best friend. Seriously, Brandy? Fuck off. Fuck you for being so selfish. Your supposed best friend just told you the deepest and darkest secret that has clearly been haunting her and has been hard for her to deal with. The fact that you're her best friend, or you claim to be her best friend, and you didn't even realize this, that she was dealing with something or that she had something in her head, makes you look horrible. And not just that, of course, you have to make it all about you and how she didn't tell you. Horrible, horrible person Brandy is. I will say this about Brandy. I think she's fine in the movie as an actress. Like, I think she's fine. But her character is written so poor. Her character is written so unlikable that you're kind of waiting for her to get killed off. Mekhi Phifer doesn't really believe this fisherman story or that the fisherman's back. He thinks it's this old black guy who was at the hotel, who was very creepy, who would always pop out of nowhere and just say these weird things. And so they search for him. They go into his room. They find Julie's toothbrush, and they see a bunch of voodoo dolls and voodoo paraphernalia. So they assume that this guy is the killer and that he's using voodoo to somehow get to them. And I love how the movie likes to try to make us think for any second that it could be this guy. The first movie, we didn't know who the killer was. It was a reveal. It was a whodunit story. This second movie, we already know. We know who the killer is. You've shown us the fisherman multiple times. So why are you making this black guy look suspicious and creepy? Why? What's the point? Why are you making the bartender look creepy and suspicious? She could have had more to do, but no, they spend all this time having her be weird, having her be awkward, having her disappear or creep out into the background or do things to make us think that maybe she's the killer. We already know it's Ben Willis. Fucking A. So the old black guy appears out of nowhere like he does. He explains that the toothbrush stealing and all of that voodoo was to protect them, because that makes sense. He tells them that their capital Brazil answer was wrong. The real capital is Brasilia. So there you go. At least we came back around and made that make sense. And he brings the group to the gravesite of, and I forget about this every time. Every time I rewatch this, I go, oh yeah, that was a thing? Where you see that Ben Willis had a wife, and he had 2 kids. And when he found out that the wife was cheating on him and going to leave him and take the kids, he killed the wife himself and buried her here. Which kind of undoes a lot of the interesting stuff and aspects of his character from the last movie. Yeah, sure, he was on his way back from killing his daughter's boyfriend, and so he was a sketchy guy. He had that killer mentality there. But do we really need a whole backstory of him killing his wife as well? It just unneeded, unnecessary, but they love to do that. And then we see an empty grave for Julie with her name and that date on it. So you have Jennifer Love Hewitt recreate or try to recreate the infamous "what are you waiting for" scene. And when she did that in the first movie, it was a strong moment. It was an empowering moment where she went from being the scared girl to the "I'm going to take the fight to you" type character. And I like that change. I like that moment and that scene. It's acted well. It's the first time you ever saw something like that. So the second movie, no. You already expect Julie to be a strong character, so I don't need a moment in the rain with thunder to try to make it more dramatic. No, this fails on so many levels. And Jennifer Love Hewitt, as good as she might be, she doesn't quite capture that magic that was from the first scene. Then the black guy goes missing, which makes him look more suspicious, and Will goes to look for him. When Will finds him, the black guy attacks Will with a shovel, and fuck Will, so I don't really care. And let's talk about Freddie Prinze Jr. Remember him? He has been MIA for the longest time. I mean, we've cut back to him here and there. We see a scene of him at the hospital and he wakes up and he sneaks out of there. The cops, by the way, don't believe him. He told the cops the truth, the story, and they're like, aha, yeah, look at this guy. You believe he really thinks a fisherman tried to kill him? Ha ha ha. Like, what? Don't you cops know? Aren't you aware of what happened last year? Julie and Freddie Prinze already filed the report. We saw that at the end of the last movie where they talked about the fisherman and how he tried to kill them and how we know that he killed their friends. Like, that's documented. So how do these cops, one, not know about it, and two, just not believe him? It's just dumb cops. You have to make cops look like an idiot so that they're not involved for the rest of it. So then you see Freddie Prinze sell the ring that he was going to propose with. He uses the money to buy a gun, and he takes a boat to go to the island. I remember when the group first gets to the island, gets to the Bahamas, they make a whole big deal about because of the storm, nobody can get off of this island because of the storm. It's too dangerous. But Freddie Prinze, I guess he's able to do it. And if you think about it, I guess the fisherman had no problem going back and forth between the city and this island, because if he was there to kill Freddie Prinze's friend and try to run him over, but then somehow, some way ended up back on the island to start killing people, and you assume that he was on the island before to set up all of this stuff that he's clearly setting up. It's just, wait, you mean it's actually easy to go back and forth on the island, even though you set up that it's not supposed to be? Okay. In the kitchen, the group is looking for something to eat, and then Mekhi Phifer gets killed. He gets hooked through the neck. It was a very surprising moment when I first saw this as a kid. And I like Mekhi Phifer as an actor. I liked his character, so it did suck to see him die. Then you get the chase. After he chases all three of the girls, the remaining girls, it's really Brandy who has the big chase. And this, too, is a recreation. As much as I could say that this is nice tension and it's played up well as far as maybe Brandy's character isn't written well, but she's acting it well to where I do want to see her survive. But this is just a ripoff and just a complete steal, copy from the last movie with Sarah Michelle Gellar, how she had that long chase of trying to survive, running to her sister's shop, running from the pageant, and the cop getting killed, and her just running in her bare feet, and her going upstairs and jumping out the window, and then almost making it to the parade, and then getting killed. That was a huge sequence. So this reeks of let's recreate that. And okay, you have Brandy up on the ceiling, and she just comes off more clumsy and goofy when she falls through the floors. She falls into a greenhouse. The killer, who he walks, I know it's a whole thing. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, a lot of killers walk, and it's supposed to make them threatening, but it's like this fisherman. Who's he ever going to catch walking as slow as he is? And it's not more evident than in this scene when he's in the greenhouse and he's taking his sweet ass time to walk. And I mean walk in slow motion. Baby steps he's taking. He's dragging this out for so long that it's comical. And she has enough time. Don't you think that if you start to see her try to squeeze through the doors and almost make it out, don't you think he would start running or hustling a little bit But no, he keeps walking, and she looks like she might die or might have died, but it's clear that she didn't. And as that's going on, Will, he shows up, he arrives, and he is talking to Julie. He's trying to tell them where to go and how to survive. But he reveals, Julie kind of figures it out with the blood, but he reveals that he's Ben's son. So, wait a minute. Will is a villain. He's the bad guy. He was the radio voice of the people who called them. So, wait a minute. You're telling me that the fisherman had a son that we didn't know about. Did he just check into the school to keep tabs on Julie and watch her and follow her and befriend her and then report back to the dad? Oh, yes, she's having dreams. Oh, yes, she's having arguments with her boyfriend. Oh, yes, this is going on. That's going on. Really? The son has nothing better to do than just to be a pawn? Okay, fine. It certainly makes the Will character more interesting because otherwise he was just a dumb shit. So to make him a villain, I already hated him as it was, so it's not too much of a stretch for me to hate him some more. And this actor, I never bought the whole cheesy fake smile that he had throughout the whole movie. So seeing him as a villain, he's definitely a lot more believable. At the gravesite, Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up. Hooray! Hip hip hooray! He finally makes it. I am so pissed rewatching this just now to see that Freddie Prinze spent this whole movie away from Jennifer Love Hewitt, away from the action, away from the main plot. We're following him try to get her, and it's supposed to be this dramatic thing of like, oh, when will he get there? Will he make it there? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just, he arrives way too late. Way too late. It's a nice moment. It is a cheer moment when he finally shows up, but that's because you're longing. You're waiting for a character to care about and to be a badass and to fight back. And finally, he, with his gun, he fights Will off a little bit, so I was perfectly fine seeing him punch Will and beat the shit out of him. And then the fisherman accidentally stabs his own son. Oops! Because the fisherman couldn't have stopped himself with the hook before Freddie Prinze moved out of the way. Again, silly, incompetent. Julie takes the gun and shoots Ben and kills him. The fisherman falls into the grave that was meant for her. But it's pretty definitive. He's dead. Not only was he shot a couple of times, but as he's laying in the grave, his eyes were open, but he's dead. He's clearly dead. He's being buried by water and mud. So there's no reason to think that he would come back. Freddie Prinze and Julie go back to the island and see that Brandy is in fact still alive. Great. So you killed Sarah Michelle Gellar, but you kept Brandy alive. I wonder why. And some time passes, and we find out that Freddie Prinze and Julie have gotten married. Wow, way to brush over that. I mean, it would have been nice maybe to see the proposal or them actually get married, not to cut away and they're already past that point. Oh, okay, sure. They're living together, and you see Freddie Prinze in the bathroom. He's really enjoying this toothbrush that vibrates, and yeah, I guess they are pretty cool. I don't blame him there. But the bathroom door closes seemingly by itself, which may explain some things later on. And so as he's locked in there, Julie is in her room, and she's trying to be calm until she looks and sees that through the mirror, the fisherman is underneath the bed, alive and well, grabs her by the feet and pulls her under the bed to presumably kill her. Now, you could argue that this is just a dream, and I'm sure if they made a third movie with this cast, that's what they would have said. They would have said it was another dream and that they were still alive. But because they didn't want to, because Freddie Prinze and Jennifer Love Hewitt did not want to come back for another one, because they finally smartened up and realized no amount of money would be worth doing another one. They did make another one without them, and they just said, oh yeah, they died. The fisherman, Ben Willis, did in fact kill them in the scene right here. So when I watch this movie, I'm watching her death. Fuck you. No. It was creepy in the first movie, having that shower scene, having the steam, having the I still know on the glass shower wall, and then him busting through the glass. Like it was creepy enough, and you're willing to see what happens next. With this movie, it's too definitive of like, yeah, I guess he killed her. Great. Downbeat, depressing. I just followed this character in 2 movies just to eventually see her get killed. Fuck you! Fuck this movie. Fuck the people involved with it. Fuck the movie for ever being made at all. Oh boy. Alright guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer? I think it's terrible. Do you as well? Should I do one for I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer? I mean, it's terrible. Maybe I'll do it if enough people want me to, but thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Souls taken over by a devilish path. You got me walking on broken glass. Kicking down the door with a Jason mask. With a dead dumb machete, but you motherfuckers know it's heavy. Anytime you're ready, you can get you with a Bowie. Setting up to blow me, but the bitch don't know me. Who's going, I'm going, you know. I know that the man in the mirror is my next rival. Time goes and I never thought I'd live it so fast. Staring at the world from the end of my glass. Turned into a dark place, sever my brain.